If you walk out this hallway, you're going to come to several beautiful walls that have the names of our fallen service members from the War on Terror. And I would ask, can any of you provide me one name on that wall that doesn't justify killing Soleimani? I'll be more than happy to sit here and wait.
And he waited. No one answered the retired Army Ranger who lost both legs serving in Afghanistan. He joins me now to discuss, along with retired Marine Sergeant and Virginia congressional candidate Rob Jones and retired Army Captain and Wisconsin congressional candidate Jason Church. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here. Congressman, sometimes the most simple argument is the most powerful. You could go in there, debate imminency and foreign policy. You're in a foreign affairs committee. Everyone likes to use big, fancy words. And you step back and say, give me one name. And you sat in silence. Where did you come up with that approach?
Look, I just wanted them to have to answer an honest question because they're trying to debate all of these semantics about whether we should have killed this terrorist that killed Americans, that did things like what you see before you. You know, each of these 6 legs, hundreds of Americans across the country that are that way because of Soleimani. And force them to answer the question, not give them a pass on it. And what did they do? They tried to steal a moment of reflection about our fallen service members, friends of mine, friends of Jason, friends of Rob, because it didn't fit their political agenda. They tried to silence us. We can't let them do it.
You mentioned that. Chairman Elliot Engel, well, he tried to move on as you waited for an answer. Watch this.
I would like to wait for somebody to provide me with a name of somebody on our memorial wall who does
You're out of order,
Mr.
Mass.
The killing of Soleimani.
You are out of order.
I will not yield
you
back
are out
my
of
time.
order, Mr. Mass.
I will not yield back my time.
Point.
I am
Mr.
not
Chair,
out of order.
Mr. Chair,
What's out of order? Last time I checked, you have an allotted amount of time.
That's right.
You can use it as you'd like. You're waiting simply for one of your colleagues to answer.
This is a venue. It's designed for debate to speak about. They wanted to talk about, was the killing of Soleimani justified? I explained to him, I said, listen, think of him like a terrorist machine gun nest that's been spraying rounds at us for years, for decades. You know what? Just because that machine gun nest might be reloading, it doesn't mean it's not an imminent threat. It was totally justified by what he had done to our brothers and sisters in arms. They didn't want to hear it, and they didn't want to have to reflect upon it, and that's why he couldn't stay in the silence. He tried to bring it to an end.
Well done. I mean, it's a time-sensitive target. You know he's a bad guy. Now you finally have the moment to do something about it, and the president did. Let me get to the other 2 gentlemen here who want to run to have a job just like yours. Sergeant Jones, when you look, I mean, there's 96 vets currently serving in Congress. You guys are hoping there's a lot more. When you look at the impact of someone like Brian Mast and others who can ask that question because they've been there and they gave it, what does that mean to you, and why are you running?
I mean, I think it's veterans are kind of necessary representatives in Congress because we are experts at selflessness and we're experts at sacrificing of ourselves for the greater good. And those are 2 requirements, in my opinion, for somebody that's going to be a representative.
Yes, selflessness, you might say, in a bit of short supply in Washington, D.C. These days. Captain Church, when you look at, again, that hearing, I think a lot of us are motivated by the fact that someone would take that moment to say, 600 names, 700 names, just give me one that you're willing to say was worth it, would prove that we shouldn't strike Soleimani. No one else could do that but a veteran.
Watching Brian do that was something that, for me, showed the power of an individual that's inspired by something that he's seen and experienced in the harshest of circumstances. And we all have seen that. And we've seen the destruction that Qasem Soleimani has done. We've seen that firsthand. And for me, I live across the river from an individual like Representative Omar, who has gone out and said that this man was a foreign government official that the President of the United States assassinated. This man was a terrorist. He needed to be gone a long time ago. So I applaud Brian for what you were talking about there, and I applaud the President for his actions, because at the end of the day, this has saved countless lives, and in my opinion, is preventing another war.
Yeah, as a Minnesotan, we apologize for that representative across the river. Brian, what would it mean for you to have reinforcements like this on Capitol Hill?
Look, I need these battle buddies up there. Dan Crenshaw, he needs more SEAL swim buddies up there. It matters for them to be able to go up there and say, you know what, I've seen real sacrifice. And the one thing that I can tell you is if you want to serve in Washington, do it the way that people did in combat, without regard for personal gain, without regard for personal sacrifice. Any other way, you don't belong here.
Sergeant Jones, we live in interesting political times.
Sir.
Were you to get a chance to join the representative on Capitol Hill, what are the one or two issues that you would want to tackle the most?
Yeah, well, the issues that are important to Virginia, we are working. I mean, I'm sure you saw recently that we're going to be experiencing a lot more traffic coming up here. We are, I'm also sure you see in Virginia, we're fighting for our Second Amendment rights. And, health care is an important aspect of life in Virginia. So
I didn't hear impeachment or the Green New Deal or Medicare for all. That's a good thing. Okay, Captain, how about you? Issues that matter to you?
Well, in this district where I'm at in northern Wisconsin, it's rural. We've got a lot of hardworking people who are farmers and manufacturers. Trade's an important thing for them. But immigration is also one of them. But I will say this. Northern Wisconsin likes people who come from outside politics. I like people who have experience in the world that is, like their own, can be harsh sometimes. And for me as a veteran, it's something that is relatable up there. And I also feel at the end of the day that the last thing we need more of in Washington is people who are just simply trying to climb the ladder and move up and kind of see where they can go in the political world. They want people who come in there and sacrifice the time the country needs it. And all three of us have proven that we were willing to do that, and I would love to do it again as a congressman.
I understand what that flag means.
These guys are fighters. So you send them into Washington, you say, what is somebody else going to do to them that is worse than what's already happened? They're fighters, and that's the way they're going to do it in D.C.
Amen. Captain Jason Church, Sergeant Rob Jones, and Representative Brian Mast. Gentlemen, thank you very much, and I love what you did in that committee hearing.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.